Hello there! In my last video I asked people to leave me questions in comments that they would like me to answer about myself, and so today that is what I am doing. Apologies in advance if I butcher the pronunciation of anyone's name or username. Hinajiko asks, who's my favorite person from history? I don't know if I can pick a favorite person from history, because history is really big and there were a lot of people who have done a lot of different stuff, and of those people I have heard of a very small percentage of them, so I don't really have an answer to that, sorry. If Dude asks, what is my favorite onomatopoeia? That is an interesting question that I hadn't really thought about before, but I think I really like the word thud. That's kind of a boring one, but I like it. And also clang. Clang is a fun word. Taoist Page wants to know, are there certain people you censor yourself around? What do you censor and why? I'm not sure I necessarily censor myself around people. I think that everyone has different facets of themselves that they choose to show at certain times depending on the situation. Like being in class or hanging out with my friends or spending time with family or being at work, those are all kind of different people that I can be. I don't think any of them are more or less valid representations of myself, but certainly there are some situations when I need to be more conventionally appropriate. For instance, I don't really swear very much unless I'm around close friends. Liz H wants to know something I find challenging. Like I talked about a couple videos ago, I have a lot of trouble just generally making myself accomplish things. I have a lot of trouble with my time management, so I have enough time to like do all of my schoolwork and also do things in London and make videos and interact with other people. I have trouble finishing things and following through on projects. Sometimes it's a challenge to just keep myself from melting into my bed into this puddle of internet and anxiety and television. And especially when I'm doing creative things, I want them to be good. And then some 42 asks, simple question, how old are you? Simple answer, 19. Noah Lee asks, what do you find beautiful? London really is a beautiful city. I'm a big fan of places. I also like fire escapes and train tracks, woods and lakes and rivers and streets. Nighttime is beautiful, but there's nothing wrong with daytime. I like sunsets. I just think the world is a really beautiful place. Gracie Stratton asks, do you think your 8-year-old self would be proud of you now? That is a really good question, and I think the answer would be yes. I know for a fact that like my 16-year-old self would be proud of me now, because there was a lot of stuff that I've accomplished that like I didn't know about when I was 8. But in terms of my 8-year-old self, yeah, I still think so. I go to a really good university, I live in a cool place and I've done cool stuff. In certain ways, my life is like as close as I can be to adventure while still going down normal life path things. And I think 8-year-old me would be happy with that. I know that present day me is happy with that. I am proud and sometimes in awe of the situation that I found myself in. I think that 8-year-old me would be happy that I am happy and that I really like my life and the person who I am. And that hasn't always been the case, but it is really nice. Mrs. Luna Lestrange wants to know how I put my thoughts into such well-understandable language. And I don't really know, I'm just sitting here kind of rambling in front of a camera. Usually I have some sort of script, but even that is just me kind of like writing down my thought process. I think I just try to be natural about it and be myself and express whatever I'm trying to express. The name is Shafa asks, what are you reading / have recently read? I have to confess that I have not been reading as much recently as I would have liked to. Being in university and even at the end of high school just took up a lot of time doing other stuff. I used to read just a ton when I was younger, and I'm trying to get back into it a little bit more this year. To answer your question, I have been halfway through The Great Gatsby for a considerable amount of time now, and over winter break I read Blue Noon, the last book in Scott Westerfeld's Midnighters trilogy, which was alright, and I read Labor Bray's Beauty Queens, which was very good. I'll put a link to my Goodreads profile downstairs in case any of you are interested in that, because I've been wanting to like keep up with that more recently. Popst for Reels 007 asks, what is your favorite place? Like I said earlier, I really like places and there are a lot of cool places out there, but I think right now I would have to say that my favorite place is London. Patrick Wilcox asks, what do you think of philosophy? This year in university I have this kind of core curriculum that focuses a lot on like history and humanities and philosophy. So I have studied a bit of philosophy recently and I don't know if I really have any strong opinions on it. Some things have been interesting and some haven't. Some discussions have been interesting and some have been boring and some have been close-minded and not fun. I think that it's pretty interesting overall, but it also kind of encompasses a lot of different stuff. And it's definitely not my favorite subject. 2 people asked me coffee or tea, so that is clearly a hot issue. Kimmy Latch and then Rachel Pierce asked if I thought there was a fundamental difference between the two kinds of people. On the whole, I'm definitely a coffee person, though since coming here I have developed a tolerance for tea. I don't know if it was because before I'd only had like weird kinds of teas without milk or sugar, or if it's because I am now in England. I do enjoy the occasional cup of tea. Mizunisher asks, what is your favorite store? I really like Goodwill. A fun fact about me is that I am not a big fan of shopping. I don't like spending money, it makes me anxious. And a lot of times the stores at malls just don't have the kind of clothes that I like, or if they do, they're just all super expensive. And so I'd kind of known before, but I think especially over this past winter break, I realized that Goodwill is what I had been looking for all along. Zimmerman Photos asks, do you have a favorite genre of music, and if so, what and why do you like it? I'd have to categorize my favorite genre of music as kind of like alternative and indie rock, which are words that don't really mean a whole ton. There's a great radio station in the Twin Cities called The Current that I absolutely adore. My favorite band, who I've talked about on Tumblr quite a bit recently, would probably have to be Cloud Cult. But I do listen to kind of a variety of stuff, from Jeremy Messersmith to Arcade Fire to The Decemberists to Regina Spektor to Doomtree. I've somewhat recently started using Last FM, so I'll put a link to that downstairs if that's something you're interested in. And there's a lot of different things I like about a lot of different music. Like, I like stuff that has good lyrics and also stuff that has like a good kind of energy. LiveX LongX Prosper asks, what was the first book you fell in love with? This is hard to say because it's hard to remember like orders and favorites from when I was a lot younger. I know I became a Harry Potter fan at a very young age. I was a big fan of the Boxcar Children's series, and like the first favorite book I can think of having is The Two Princesses of Bamara by Gail Carson Levine. Finally, OneZAlex1 asked me 2 questions. Firstly, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or alternatively, what do you want to do when you never grow up? Because growing up is for squares. I like that growing up is for squares, and I definitely see myself as more of a trapezoid. And I don't really know what I want to do in the future. I'm not even sure what I want to major in college. Like, I'm pretty sure I want to do something like media culture and communications, and possibly minor in film production, but I'm not sure, and I don't really know what I would do with that. Some days I want to be an author or a writer, some days I want to make movies, some days I want to work for a radio show, or a website, or a publishing company. I really don't know. I think I'm just gonna cross that bridge when I come to it, and maybe I'll end up with more than one bridge, or do lots of stuff or something. And the final question is, how are you doing today? And the answer is, I am doing quite nice. Thank you for asking. Alright, that is the end of the video. You have been informed, now you know. If you have more questions, I'm always happy to talk about myself in comments or on Tumblr or somewhere else on the internet. Otherwise, I hope that you guys have a nice day as well, and I will talk to you later.